either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Weird MicroViews. I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
And in this MicroView, we travel to space to fight a half-cooked omelet UFO in order to keep Earth safe from the terror that is Gilala in Uchu Daikaiju Gilala.
Also known as
The X from Outer Space.
Yes. This movie.
Yes. For those who are not familiar with this somewhat obscure movie.
I mean, how could you have missed it?
The X from Outer Space is about a group of scientists who bring back space spores to Earth from Mars, and it turns into the beast Gilala.
And it is exactly what you think it is. It is just as dumb as the general area of the Son of Godzilla.
Yeah, well,
without the obviously going for kid humor.
Son of Godzilla has a particular level of shittiness to it.
It does. This tries to be higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
But it has similar bones.
Yeah, and I'll get into that a little bit, because this is, even though it's a MicroView, I do have some history on this one, and I want to get that set up because it's important to why we chose this one paired with Alien.
Yes, because Alien is arguably one of the greatest, UFO fics of all time.
Yes, exactly. So, The X from Outer Space is directed by Kazui Nihonmatsu, and it's written by Moriyushi Ishida, Ebi Motomochi, there. And also written by Nihonmatsu. So all these people, Nihonmatsu did not do much to his name besides this.
Yeah, no, real short list.
Well, outside of this, he was the assistant director on Masaki Kobayashi's The Thick Walled Room, Sincerity, Youth of the Sun, Akira Kurosawa's The Idiot, a particular favorite of mine for the more offbeat Kurosawa films. And he was also in Kisuke Kinoshita's Carmen Comes Home. Two of these names, Kurosawa and Kobayashi, you might have heard from our Yojimbo episode.
Especially one of them, as I take a shot every time you whisper it.
Yes. In regards to the other two writers, they've done nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is their only movie that they really did.
You know what? But they did a movie.
Yes. It stars Eiji Okada, Shunya Wazaki, Ito Harada, and Peggy Neal.
Yeah, Peggy stands out a little in this movie, not gonna lie.
Of these, the only one I'm familiar with is Okada.
Yeah, same.
I mainly know him from Hiroshima Mon Amour and Woman in the Dunes.
I was gonna suggest Lady Snowblood, but also good choices.
I didn't see him in that one. He probably had a side role.
It's a side role.
Okay, that's why.
It's a side role.
But other than that, I'm not familiar with anyone, but Wakazaki as well as Okada are in a couple Lone Wolf and Cub movies.
Yeah. Again, though, not outstandingly.
No, they're not leads or anything, or even major side villains.
No, but they are in them.
Yes.
Which is more than the rest of the cast I can say for.
Yeah. And so part of the reason I chose this is I have this in a set of movies that's part of the Criterion spin-off collection called the Eclipse series, called When Horror Came to Shochiku.
Yeah, an interesting title for this film.
Yes.
Or collection, to be put in, I should say.
Well, there's a reason to that. So Shochiku is Japan's second oldest film studio.
Okay.
And they were housed to, the one of the most famous Japanese directors of all time, Ozu.
Yes.
Which I picked up a bunch of his movies this Criterion sale, so that way I can get caught up on his work. But the reason I bring this up is because I wanted to talk about a movie that's not directly related to or ripping off Alien.
Yes.
But also as a way to show different type of movie where a studio just makes a bit of a blatant cash grab.
Oh, yeah.
And to make a shift in the marketing, or to try and move with the times, but not doing so well with it.
It's a little bit of a hot mess.
Yes, because Shochiku is known more so for their dramas and everything.
Yeah,
period pieces.
There are some elements sprinkled throughout this movie of drama.
Well, yeah, and I think every movie in this set. So basically, to give a long story short, the 60s weren't super good for Shochiko or Shochiku. They weren't keeping up with all the other movies that were making, or all the other film studios that were getting into genre pieces such as Yakuza films or kaiju films. So they decided to make a set of horror films to try and make a little bit of money in a not so great time.
Yeah, well, I'll give them this. This movie's entertaining as all get out.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically the premise of why I wanted to talk about this, just because it kind of relates to Alien in the fact that following trends, another studio tried doing it, but did it very, very poorly.
I will give them credit for creativity,
mm-hmm.
because the genre is, especially when this came out in, I think, 1967?
67, yes.
The alien comes to Earth and wrecks shit was well done by then.
Mm-hmm.
And while this has some heavy elements of those other movies in it, there is a lot of, like, new interpretations that I don't usually get around to seeing, which was nice. And, like, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
No, it's definitely campy for its time too.
It is, and like honestly, like there is parts of it that you could argue have some real backbone and like merit.
Mm-hmm.
Like they could have taken those in a different direction and had something really good.
Yeah, but they decided not to do any of that.
Yes, they did.
Specifically, and I looked it up real quick. This is still before Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
A classic.
But one thing, because I was rewatching it, and your husband came over and we were watching a little bit of it.
Yeah, surprised he didn't want to watch it again with me.
Shocking. Well, he only watched like 20 minutes of it.
That's enough.
He got to the part where they landed on Mars, basically.
Oh.
Or no, they took the detour and landed on the moon.
Yeah, they don't... This is a real roundabout mission.
Yeah.
There's a lot of... I mean, but again, this is... And we'll get into it more, but like this is where the creativity for me happened, and I was like, wow, you thought about a moon base. Look at you.
Well, I also like that they don't really try and hide anything, you know?
No, this is a very straightforward movie.
Like, they straight up, from the very beginning, they straight up say that, hey, we've set a bunch of missions here, but none of them come back, because they keep running into a UFO. Like,
it's like in the first line.
Yeah, it's like, it's so blatant that it's so... stupid.
And the whole movie is that level of blatant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whenever there's any sort of trouble, they just yell at each other what the problem is.
Yeah.
And how to fix it.
Yeah, it's just... And
then if there's any relationship or, like, triangle love drama happening, they just blatantly tell each other that, too. Which is nice, because, I watched this with subtitles. I know there is a dubbed version available somewhere.
Yeah, it's not this DVD.
Not this DVD, and I wasn't about to pay money to watch this. But, so I watched this with subtitles, and while the subtitles for this film are decent, you're not definitely missing a ton.
No.
It is a little bit difficult. Like, if the dialogue had been going faster, I would have easily lost who was talking to who.
Yes.
Because a lot of them talk with their backs to the camera.
Yeah.
And several of them, even though this movie is supposedly not dubbed, multiple times, especially the one blonde person in the film.
Like the three Americans in this movie.
Yeah.
They are all bad. And
And I'm sure they are dubbed over again into Japanese. Like, there's no way that their lips are that out of sync and they are speaking the words coming out of their mouth.
And I think, because I did a little digging, not a whole lot, but I think Peggy Neal actually knew Japanese.
Yes, because hers gets close, but there are definitely times where you're like, nope. No, I don't. I don't speak a lot of Japanese, but I know that's not what came out of your mouth.
Or it's just like off enough where it's like they didn't care about the sound quality. It kind of makes me think of a little bit of like an Ed Wood movie where it's just slightly off, even though it is 100% English. It's just
a little off. Yeah. This movie does suffer from that. So I am glad that this movie is blunt because I would have gotten lost otherwise.
And even then, like, you kind of forget that. And I feel like they were still holding, like, Shochiku was still trying to hold on to, like, their brand of being of drama movies.
Yes.
So, like...
Yes. There is some unnecessary love triangle in this movie.
Yeah, and so, like, that's the big thing that makes this movie so bad. Because in comparing it to, like, Godzilla.
Yes. A fair comparison.
Yeah, the very, very first Godzilla. That love triangle worked because... It also was part of, like, the competitiveness between the two scientists and also them, like, having to actually deal with... Like we've talked about, what makes kaiju movies good isn't necessarily the kaijus or the battles.
Yes.
It's the human relationship between it all.
And don't be wrong, I'm here for the kaiju, but I'm continuing to be invested for the humans.
Yeah, and that's the issue with this movie, is that it doesn't all tie together. Like,
no.
It feels like it's trying to tell, like, 3 different stories all at once.
Well, and a huge part of that is, and Godzilla's a great example, the love triangle and the human relationships in general in that film worked because all of the people acted and dialogued like people. And even though we were not privy to all of their deep background of knowing each other, it was clear that they knew each other and, like, had relationships before this. All of the men in this movie feel like that. The 2 women in this film very much feel like old Doctor Who sidekick women.
Yeah.
Where, like, they're called Doctor. One of them lives on the moon as a scientist. The other one is a quote unquote space biologist, even though, as far as we're aware, there's nothing that this woman studies.
I don't think any of them have any right to be in space.
No, none of them do, definitely. But, like, these are both supposedly educated, smart women who have the personality of 90s Barbie.
Yeah, they are only after Ken, basically.
Yes, and, like, but, like, and I'm okay with that being, like, the thing, but why are they both scientists?
Because it puts them on the spaceship, which
both of them are terrible at.
They're all terrible at.
They really are.
No one in this movie is competent at all.
And, like, but in this movie's defense, they did kind of suggest that all of the competent people are dead.
Yeah, because this is like the 5th group of people they're sending, and they're just keep setting these people up. Well, you might not come back. The other 4 died because of an alien that we know is out there. And
it sounds like we're, being brass, but no, that is, like, actually how the dialogue went at the very beginning of this movie. And so, like, I do wonder if maybe these people aren't qualified to be in space.
It's like Alien without the kind of sneaky shit that Weyland Yutani's doing.
Yes. Well, and comparing it to Alien, there was some smart ways that movie got around not having brilliant people by putting their people in space. Like, they went ahead and made space, like, the future. Space is normal, and they are, like, the equivalent of trash dump truck drivers.
Yeah.
So, like, not being the quickest and brightest worked. This movie went with a very classic look. and it also presented classical, like, space problems, like the hull breaking and aliens and meteorites and, like, moon landings. But unfortunately, because our characters are meant to be smart, all of their idiotic, like, solutions and bickering amongst themselves and inability to buckle their seatbelts just leads you to question how they passed high school.
Yeah, it's a certain level of like I think all of that just stems down to like how budget this movie feels.
Yes, which is surprising because there are parts of this movie that truly impressed me.
Yeah.
The moon scenes, like from the outside,
Yes.
not necessarily even the inside of the moon.
Okay.
Like looked good.
Okay, I've got some thoughts on this.
Yes.
I will give the outside models credit.
Yes, the outside models
They
of
did
the moon look good.
Yes. When it comes to so much other, let's talk about the Astro boat.
Yeah.
One, I think it's kind of I don't think was Astro Boy out yet.
I don't know. I only ever really followed the America trend of Astro Boy.
Yeah, I've only seen the Cage one. Nope, 52. So yeah, Astro Boy was out. So I think it's a little play on that.
That makes sense.
But it just feels like, because it's named Astro Boat, it just feels like it's a shitty model boat that they kind of just painted and stuck some stuff on to make it look sci-fi. It almost makes me think of the ship from Earth Girls Are Easy.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
It 100% does. I will give them credit that I think it's clever that it had another ship that it launched out of. That was cool.
Yeah.
And I liked that it opened like the Demigorgon's mouth.
Yeah.
That was nice. The rest of the ship screams atomic age.
Screams boat.
It screams boat. I also think that it doesn't help that there are certain bits of this movie, and like this is just how especially 60s movies in Japan worked, was like throw in some American to make it cool. And unfortunately Astro Boat was American. That was just English thrown right on in that.
Yeah, it makes me think of, specifically in music, how we have those pop songs where there's like the one or two line that's in English.
Yeah.
Same with on our side where like...
We'll have like a couple lines in Spanish.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, like it's always been a thing.
Yeah, one song in the album's Spanish, specifically looking at You Senses Fail.
Yeah, like everywhere has this scenario that happens. It just doesn't help that the thing that was already goofy was given a goofy name that I recognize.
Yes.
If it had been Astro and then the Japanese word for boat, I think I would have missed it a little more.
Yeah.
Because they don't really, like, emphasize it.
I'm gonna look that up. I don't know what the Japanese word for boat is.
I do not either, as most of my Japanese is how to get around and how to order.
Boto.
Well, that maybe not have helped so much then. Yeah.
Astro Boto.
You know what? Yeah, that wouldn't have helped. Never mind. Take back. Let me just reel that back in. Put that back in my mouth. Never mind. My plan is ruined.
Well, speaking of some oddities and weird stuff in this movie, before we move on to talking about the creature,
which is a delight.
The weirdest, you give credit to the interiors.
Yes.
I will say, like, their bar lounge area,
pretty dope.
It feels like an Austin Powers bar.
Well, and you have to remember, this movie is coming out in mid to late 60s, when it's space aged theme.
Yeah.
So, like, the atomic age, like, sort of thing was popular then.
Yeah.
And it would have been kind of like that cool retro.
Yeah.
So, like, having your entire space be done up in the atomic style with the unnecessary curves and lines would have been on point. And they do it well.
Yeah.
Minus the fact that we're somehow on the moon.
Well, you say that, but here's a couple things that I was noticing. So, when they get to the moon, they immediately go to shower. And the men go to a very
I'm glad you noticed
traditional,
this as well.
like, Japanese cedar bath.
Yeah.
But the women are in a shower that's just covering just below the shoulders.
The shower is screaming YMCA from the 90s.
Yes.
Hasn't been updated since the 70s. That shower stall was meant for a woman who is exactly 5 feet tall. Heaven forbid if you are taller than that. Your nip's just going to be right on out.
Yes.
And I also appreciate how the men have, like, little wash towels that they can put on their head. Like, it's very traditional Japanese bath. Yes. And, like, they even, like, show off in their bathroom that they do have a shower. They showered beforehand, before they got in the bath. And, like, they have hot water. And the women don't even appear, like, they have a single bar of soap that they're kicking between the two of them?
No, because their whole purpose is to just talk back and forth about
But
how they both love the same dude.
Okay, yes. However, please let it be known that the men's bath is so small that they are almost in each other's laps.
Yeah.
But, like, this is a Japanese film, and it's a Japanese-style bath, and, like, it's clearly not weird for them.
Yeah.
So, like, you'd get over it pretty quick, and then you switch to the women's locker room, and they are on the opposite sides of the room. There is 2 showers, and it takes up the whole room. And they seem to be in individual stalls. Like, these stalls are, like, what, 8-10 feet long?
Something like that. Like,
why?
It's just,
why is there so much eye contact ability?
It's just so stupid.
And they spend the entire shower, no soap, no towel, no loofah or anything, just gently rubbing their arms in the water, sprinkling it on their faces.
Yes, because you gotta look a little wet.
Okay, as a lady, I would like to inform you that that is not how ladies shower around other ladies. That is how men shower around other men, I think.
I don't know. I mean,
As someone who showers occasionally with their husband, I will let you know that I am more prone to believing that men stand around lightly bathing than women who are like, no, I gotta scrub the crevices, get in, get out, let's go.
I mean, I take like 2-minute showers, so like...
I don't know if, like, we count, though, as military children.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been conditioned that you get that 1 quarter's worth of water.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, the only time I take long showers is on the occasional Sunday where I have a shower beer.
A shower beer is nice. Yeah, if they'd had shower beers, I would have forgiven these women.
But instead, they're just...
chit-chatting about how they love the same dude.
Yeah.
From across the room. I
And...
also appreciate that, like, when they come out of the shower and go on to the lounge, did you notice that all of the men are just back in their space uniforms and the ladies come out in, like, cocktail dresses?
Yeah.
Did they pack these?
Hey, you gotta look pretty if you're competing for the same man. If you show up in your work attire, that other girl's got the casual wear.
She's been living on the moon. Like, she's been moon shopping, apparently.
Hey, ties back into Alien where they wanted it to feel like there were truck stops in space.
Success. Yes, this movie does have some of that play.
And now I have a thought that's not related to this movie at all.
Okay.
The Ghost of Tsushima live action that they're doing. I hope
there is naked butt.
I hope there is that one stupid bit of fanfare, and it is the goddamn natural springs, so it just screws with you.
No, I hope it's every, 30 minutes in the film, just like in the game. That way my dear husband can yell at me again to come look at a man's butt from across the house. That's the only part of this game I actually watched. I would have watched the rest of it, but he only played it when I was working. And so he'd only be like, Christine, have you seen the shower scene? And I'm like, yes, every time you find a hot spring. I'd rather watch the battle, but no, we're here looking at this random man's ass.
Well, may the new God of War have plentiful booty.
That would be nice.
And so, all the stupidity with the people.
There's a lot. We could go more, but...
Let's start talking about the creature.
Okay.
First off...
On paper, I like the creature.
Before that, I want to talk about the UFO.
Which may or may not just be the evolved version of the creature.
Yes. It looks like it's just...
a raw egg yolk floating in milk.
Yeah, they describe it as an uncooked...
omelet.
Omelet, yeah, this UFO itself. And honestly, it looks like they just took, some plaster and put it over a football. An American football.
Yeah, I could see it. Yeah. I mean, it is goopy.
And it's not... the one thing I will give it credit for is that it does feel more organic and seed-like instead of, the... seed-like, that's the better term.
Yeah.
Rather than our, standard UFO.
You know what it looks like? It looks like a chia seed that's been rehydrated and still has the goop around it.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. And then when it spews spores, that just looks like more wet chia seed.
Yeah. It's such a... compared to, the Astro Boat, at least the Astro Boat looks like something.
You could look at the Astro Boat, and even if you've never seen the film, out of context, you know it's a spaceship. This, I would not necessarily know is a quote-unquote UFO.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I kind of appreciate that this is less of like a technology and just like
Mhm.
the final evolution. This is the third stage of this creature.
It goes forth and prospers. It spreads its seed across the galaxy.
You give it a star stone and it turns into that.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah.
And even then, like, don't they get, like, the spore because it attaches to the ship and they just shove it in a container?
Yes, they do. And the container looks a lot like a mix between a canteen and a lantern. They just shove it right in there.
Yeah. Yeah, the budget of it all.
I also appreciate how they shove one spore into the container. There is room for more spores in the container. They shove one into it, and then they brush off the rest of them.
Yeah.
And earlier they spent the budget to show that they are in space, there is no gravity.
Mhm.
They've got like the floating notepad.
Goddamn,
And then they turn the gravity on.
And also, like, the stupid space jumping they have for, like, part of the movie.
It's just a trampoline.
Yeah.
Like, not even men on ropes, it's just a trampoline. And, like, there's people just watching them like they're out on a picnic in the New York City park.
It's a stupid-ass moment.
It is. However, when we go outside of the ship, the astronauts clearly had been told to act like they're floating in space. Like, they're moving slow, they're acting floaty.
Yeah.
None of the things they are touching float at all. They just kind of roll off the set.
Yeah.
It's glorious.
It is. And also, let's start moving towards Gilala a little bit. So,
yes, because we have the egg version.
Which escapes by melting through the floor with heat for some reason.
Okay, I did miss this part. They dump it on the tape?
Yeah, they don't even go through decontamination or anything.
No,
they just
there's no
bring
protocol.
it in and set it down on, like, their conference table.
Yeah, there's no protocol.
No.
This might be why so many people have died.
Hey, like you said, it's implied that all the smart people are gone.
Including, apparently, all the people on Earth as well.
Yes. And so...
Yeah, it just melts a hole, and I think they even say in the film that, like, it's melted a hole to the center of the Earth. Or some nonsense like that.
Some bullshit, yeah. Because, like, we don't see this creature in any of its metamorphosis.
No.
Until it has, like, the mountain reveal like Godzilla.
I do like that the mountain is very clearly the mountain.
Yeah.
Like, we win iconic.
Yeah. If we're gonna rip it off, might as well do it the right way.
True.
And
of course it immediately makes for Tokyo.
How do you describe Gilala?
I read a lot of reviews about this film, and there's a lot of online descriptions of Gilala.
Okay.
My current favorite one is a chicken with a saucer head.
Okay.
I also saw it written that it was a man in a backwards lizard suit with a truck on its face.
Those are pretty accurate.
And the last one was a blow-up suit that they bought from the Party City.
All good descriptions, actually.
Yeah.
I would describe this as a chicken bug head with a salamander body.
Uh-huh. Please note that the body costume part simultaneously looks like it is filled with stiff foam and also being inflated by a fan.
Yes.
Like, both of those things at the same time. The
head
is fairly well sculpted. The mouth moves, the eyes light up. It's nothing real impressive, but, like, it's at least on there.
You know what it feels? I know it's not what they did, but it feels like, in going with the models, it looks like they took, like, a fighter jet model.
It does look like JJ the Jet Plane.
And just put a bunch of shit over it to make it unrecognizable.
I know you didn't have a whole lot of younger children growing up. Are you aware of what JJ the Jet Plane is?
I am actually surprisingly aware of what JJ the Jet Plane was.
If JJ the Jet Plane had terrible metamorphosis where he was, like, scientifically fused at the cellular level with Godzilla.
Yeah.
And, like, an insect flew between them as that happened.
Yeah, it's really, really bad.
It is. None of the limbs are proportionate.
No.
He does have a set of spines running down the front. An odd choice.
He's got a weird horn on, like, the top of his head.
He does look like he could warn you the fog is coming, and he gets real good reception with those bald antennas.
He makes me think of, like, something that would be in Psyche K.
Yeah, very much so, especially because he has ruffly sleeves.
Yeah, we'll call them sleeves.
He's got shoulder pads. And he, because of the way the suit seems to have been constructed...
He's a beaky ball sack with the tail.
Yeah, he is. And unfortunately, it does look like the arms and legs are not attached to the body, and that the body may or may not have been put on backwards.
Yeah.
The arms and legs are the same size, but he stands upright like a man.
He dummy thick.
Him arms and legs, again, are the same size. And he never misses leg day.
Nope. And, what is Gilala's fuel source?
Well, of course, it is nuclear power.
Atomic energy.
Yeah.
The stupidest.
It is exactly what you think it is. And so, of course, the nearest source of nuclear energy for him is Tokyo.
Yeah.
And so he goes on a rampage to crush Tokyo.
Yeah. And I mean, that's... They just took Godzilla and very roughly did the exact same thing, just dumber.
Yes. And the other thing that kind of is, like, odd is they at no point, like, explain why Tokyo.
No.
At least with Godzilla, there was, like, the lore of, like, oh, well, this is the, like, god of the people.
Well...
It's been here for thousands of years, potentially.
No, that's Kong. Godzilla is its migratory path, because they pulled that from 20,000 Fathoms.
Yeah, like, it at least
or the beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
It at least tried to give reason for it.
This is just like, well, we gotta send it to a major metropolitan.
The other thing that was kind of strange is other large, scary men in costumes stomping around cities. Generally, they spend a lot of time having the monster go through, like, electrical cables and power plants, and...
This thing just...
wrecks downtown Tokyo.
Just full-on runs through everything. There's nothing stopping him.
No.
The only... this is the one thing where I'll say, like, okay, maybe they tried... It feels more in line with, like, what Shin Godzilla would be.
Yeah.
But it just gets even dumber because its weakness is... Quilarium.
Yeah, what is that?
I have no clue.
Neither do they!
I remember them explaining, like, it's some rock from Mars or some shit, or something from the UFO, that it just feels like a dumbass Superman of, like, our weakness is what our planet's made of.
Yeah, which is a bit of a problem because it does obviously turn into the egg thing again on Earth before it is shot with magic...
Guilalium.
Yeah, that shit.
Guilarium, sorry.
So, like, clearly it's not from the UFO part, because the creature is the UFO part. We established that. That's canon.
We're assuming.
It turns into it in front of our eyes. It turns into a flying omelet.
True. Well,
and then it turns back into the alien.
Right, because then they shoot it back down and it turns into, like, its spore form again.
Yeah, very large one, and then it shrinks into a pile of toothpaste.
Oh my god, the whole bit of, like, her going to grab it, and they're like, no, don't touch it, it could be dangerous. And they give her, like, a pair of cooking tongs to pick it up. Pinch.
Also, I praised the model and set of Mars. I would like to know what the budget of the Hobby Lobby purchase that they had for the Earth set. Because as someone who both has done railroad miniatures and went through architecture school, I recognize those trees. I recognize those buildings. I recognize those tanks. I know what aisle you bought those in. You didn't even repaint them.
So bad. And they're all so stiff at moving, like, just everything about this. That's probably what, I think the reason we can give Godzilla away for being stiff is because...
we knew the costume was stiff.
Yeah, it's the very first thing, a movie like that.
And, like, they went to great lengths explaining that, like, we tried to get it to move like we wanted, but, like, we literally couldn't. But
it still bends. Everything in this movie is so stiff.
Except for the monster, who is weirdly floppy. But, like, not the way you want him to be. Like, he's not athletically floppy. His costume is just floppy.
No. And not even that floppy. Like, the only thing that's floppy is, like, the tail and then the arms a little bit.
The joints.
Yes.
The skin part itself is too soft. At least with Godzilla, all of Godzilla felt stiff, like almost he was like rock-esque.
Yeah.
Like the skin was tight, like the costume was, the whole thing felt like a trial. And this thing looks like a pillow. Yes,
and to that point, I mean, Godzilla was supposed to resemble the charred skin from radiation burns. So
this was not.
Oh no, not at all.
This highly resembles one of those like real light foam plastic dolls.
Oh yes, it is
real bendy.
Real bad.
I will give them credit that they do send in the Air Force, who may or may not be on string.
Yeah.
They also do send in the military. The tanks come, and I will give them credit that the toy tanks do shoot small things, and there are a couple scenes where the Force perspective is passable.
Yeah.
And then there's several scenes where they have just loosely photoshopped around his foot and put him on top of the scene.
Yeah. I do want to talk about the ending just real quick as well.
Yes.
Because,
yes, we must.
They not only rip off Godzilla, they rip off Gamera as well, which is a bad Godzilla knockoff in its own right.
Yes, I would also like to tie in that they managed to do the thing where the beginning and the end of the movie is almost the same.
Yes.
The movie begins with incredibly happy music that you then learn is translated into something like "The future is our promise" or some bullshit like that. And like it's just like beautiful sky scenes. It's almost like those bad posters that your art teacher had put up where like the kitten's hanging in there.
Yeah.
There's like butterflies. And like then at the end we return to this happiness where most of Tokyo has both been evacuated and crushed.
Yeah, well
but not scientists, so we're fine.
Yeah, it's just so mismatched because like their final solution is
to shoot it back into space.
Shoot it back into space like they do in Gamera, which I love it because it's like, well, it's space's problem again, even though we know that ship's out there and we don't know how many other spores have been released.
And also we know it can survive in space.
Yeah.
The thing that really upsets me, because I'm all for yeeting your magical monsters into space.
Yes, it's also what I wish we would do with Pluto. Push it out of our solar system so it's space's problem.
Well, I mean, it's kind of not in our solar system because like it's got a twin moon it hasn't cleared its path properly, and like its moon is about the same size if not bigger than
it exists within our sun's gravitational field as part of our solar system.
There's a lot of other things that do that as well.
I know. But I think Pluto should be pushed out to space and let it be space's problem so science nerds can focus on better stuff.
No.
Yes.
Not allowed.
I also hate that it's trying to be too cute with its stupid heart shape.
It is adorable. It is adorable. I mean, there's not a lot of competition for the most adorable planet. You kind of go from real hot to us and we're garbage to gassy to death and kind of brown. Yeah. And then there's Pluto. And like your options are limited. So you just kind of go with the little one.
I still say we get rid of it.
I mean...
completely wipe it from our history, and then like 300 years they're like, did we know this existed before?
Did you know that back in the day they didn't know that Pluto was a real thing?
Yeah. But enough of that.
Yeah. So one of my favorite like problem solving solutions to these sorts of movies and horror movies in general is to yeet your problem into space. Jason X is one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and their solution was to just yeet Jason into the sun.
That makes so much more sense now.
Yeah. Why did we just yeet the monster into general space and not, like, pick a spot?
Because the sun has radiation.
Then why not send it to Pluto?
Because Pluto should be gone.
We could have put them together!
Well, we don't know where it came from. Maybe it came from Pluto.
That's true, and we've already established that we have a hard enough time to get into Mars, even though we have a gas station on the moon?
Yeah. I like how you put the space station as just a gas station.
It is, though. I also appreciate how they run out of gas, and they go and just get like a 10-gallon gas tank from the moon, and fill up their whole ship. This nuclear-powered ship is running on 10 gallons of gas.
Yeah, at least Futurama put Nibbler poop.
Yes. Also, I don't know a ton about nuclear science, but I do question how much gas is needed, because they very clearly state that this is a nuclear-powered spaceship.
Yeah,
How much, let's assume diesel, do you need to start up a nuclear-powered spaceship?
You know, I don't know. I do have the nuclear science merit badge. Thank you very much.
I'm very impressed.
Back when they still had it, they've discontinued it because
Yes, I heard.
very good reasons.
Yeah, just a few.
Probably a lot.
I feel like more than 10 gallons.
Well, I mean, we have nuclear subs.
I would assume, though, that those aren't pulling over to, like, the Bahamas and going out and grabbing 10 gallons of gas.
I mean, that's basically what they're doing on this. It's just the Bahamas are the moon.
That's true. In this scenario, the Bahamas are the moon.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rent, buy, or decline that, even though we watched it despite having audio record of us watching it?
Oh, I'm gonna rent this.
Yeah.
This movie's hilarious.
We
bitch about it, but I genuinely enjoyed watching this movie. It is one of those so bad it's fun movies, and, like, it's not so bad that it physically hurts you.
No.
It's actually fairly decent 90% of the time.
It's definitely dumb. It doesn't go as far as... There's one Gamera movie that is really, really bad, and I would love for us to just do the entire Gamera series at some point.
Someday.
There's one specific one where it's all just, like, I want to say, like, 70% of the movie is old footage, and then everything else is just this couple of superheroes driving in a van, and the entire thing is, like, the van is stationary. Like,
it's one of those?
It's even worse than, like, the honest stick ones we have. Like, it feels like they are, like, superimposed on, like, a highway and stuff, and it's just, like, really, really, really bad.
I love those. Yeah, this isn't that bad.
No.
In fact, the acting's pretty good. The, like, dialogue writing is direct and straightforward, but it's not bad. It's
fine for a 60s bad sci-fi movie.
Yeah, like, I have seen recent productions that are written worse than this. The thing that makes it bad is that the monster is silly looking and stomps around goofily. And there's a random love triangle. Yeah. That has no business being there, but, like, the acting's decent, like, this, like, props 9 times out of 10 are okay looking. It's only really Earth that's the problem. We don't spend a lot of time on Earth.
No.
Like,
all the budget went to the moon.
Yeah. It really did. That was a different modeling person, I feel like. God. Because the moon model's good. Yeah, and
that's the thing, too. Going back real quick. Probably the reason Godzilla felt so good is because everything was modeled after... And I don't know if that was done for this as well. But Godzilla felt like it was a real downtown and not... just random cityscape. It didn't feel like... Yeah,
there's no defining feature of this Tokyo.
No.
Like, and granted, like, I wouldn't call myself a skyline expert, but I do work in an architecture field.
Yeah, we're also talking Tokyo from the 60s, where, like, everywhere in the world a skyscraper was a 4-story building.
And also everything was the same shape.
That's an exaggeration. We did have, like, the Chrysler building and shit by then, but...
Screw the Chrysler building. I had to study that sucker way too much. No more. But yeah, like, there's not a lot of, like, defining features other than the fact they keep screaming that Tokyo's coming to get it. But, like, you do get your good, like, oh no, it's Godzilla, but it's not.
We should run like it is Godzilla.
Yeah, there's a lot
Even though it's not due to copyright laws.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. Yeah. Like, there's plenty of that. Like, the love triangle resolves in a humorous way. Not like it's not trying to be humorous. Like, the one girl's like, I now know that she loves him more than me.
Yeah, no, Peggy just gives up.
Peggy just gives up. There's no reason for Peggy to exist, but she's in the entire movie. I kind of like it.
It's just so dumb, like, and all over the place.
It's all over the place. And so, like, yeah, I'm going to rent this again from you, even though you own it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to rewatch it whenever it's going to be part of a lineup of, like, Bad Movie Weekend.
Yeah. Pretty much probably this entire micro-reviews are all just going to be movies I already own.
Yes.
And I'll judge whether I should have bought it or not, maybe.
Yeah, like, it is possible to get a hold of this movie online. I think HBO Max has got it streaming right now.
Probably because HBO does have a lot of the Criterion stuff.
Yeah, and I also found it for free online if you're willing to go to sketchy places. So, like, it's not impossible to get a hold of. The Criterion Collection sells it. Like, this movie's not an underground, like, super difficult to get.
Yeah, and on top of that, the Eclipse series is much more affordable. It's currently half price at Barnes & Noble, so I'm gonna plug that because, I mean, they don't need all the help, but still.
And, like, the rest of them it comes with are also, like, similar vibes.
Yeah, they're definitely ones that we should go down at some point. I do actually particularly find Genocide interesting. The movie Genocide. But I want to pair that with something else down the line.
Yes, I fully agree.
Yeah, so, but...
Maybe with the movie Life.
No, I've got another one.
Okay.
This is my bread and butter of the garbage movies.
I am fully aware, and I fully enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, so I do agree. I would say rent it, despite owning it, but yeah. But
it's fun.
It is, so. But that's been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird micro-views.
Thanks for listening.
Peace. Thank you for stopping by this here town of the good, the bad, and the weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always, check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace.